The house is quiet now. The kind of quiet that only arrives after the last car has hissed by on the wet asphalt outside, and the furnace in the basement has settled into its rhythmic, low-frequency thrum. In the den, the air is thick and still, carrying the scent of wood smoke from the fireplace, the faint, sweet aroma of pipe tobacco lingering in the heavy drapes, and the honest, metallic scent of the electronics. The centerpiece of the room is the console television, a massive, solid cabinet of American walnut that stands on 4 tapered legs. In the low amber light of a single pole lamp, the wood grain of the console ripples like a dark, silent river. This isn't just a machine. It's the anchor of the room. It has a physical gravity. If you were to walk across the deep pile avocado green shag carpet, the kind that holds the footprints of the day like a record of movement, and reach for the control panel, you'd find the knobs are cool to the touch. They are heavy, cream-colored plastic with silver-tined centers. The channel selector moves with a solid, pressurized clack, a sound of absolute mechanical finality. You aren't just scrolling through digits. You are engaging a series of physical copper contacts deep within the dark, warm interior of the cabinet. You pull the power knob toward you. There is a brief internal thump of a relay and then the wait. This is a technology that requires patience. It doesn't snap to life, it wakes up. Deep inside the chassis, the vacuum tubes begin to breathe. One by one, their tiny orange filaments start to glow, casting a soft amber light through the honeycomb of the masonite back panel. You can smell it now, that unmistakable scent of warming glass and the faint, toasted aroma of dust settling on a hot resistor. It's a scent that means the day is over and the world is coming into the room. The screen, a thick, curved plate of leaded glass, slowly begins to fill with a pale, grey-blue light. It starts as a tiny, brilliant point in the center, expanding outward until the entire surface is a shimmering, static-filled canvas. If you were to bring your hand close to the glass, the hair on your arm would stand up, pulled by the invisible crackling energy of the static charge. It's a physical connection. The sound comes next. A low background hiss, a white noise wash that softens the edges of the room. Then, as the tubes reach their operating temperature, the hiss is replaced by the rich, baritone voice of the late-night broadcaster. The speakers, hidden behind panels of woven gold and brown thread, are large and resonant. They don't just produce sound, they move the air. They fill the den with a deep, vibrating warmth that makes the floorboards under the shag carpet hum with a gentle frequency. On top of the television, a pair of chrome, rabbit ear antennas stretch toward the ceiling. They are capped with small red plastic tips and they catch the stray glints of the street lamp outside. They are adjusted just so, a delicate, precise geometry designed to pull a clear signal out of the night air. To the left of the TV stands the hi-fi console. This is the stereophonic altar. The lid is a heavy slab of walnut that opens with a slow hydraulic grace, revealing the turntable inside. The platter is covered in a disc of ribbed black rubber, waiting. You pick up a vinyl record, a heavy 180-gram disc, and as you slide it from its paper sleeve, you hear that soft, dry shish of the paper against the grooves. The smell of the vinyl is deep and chemical, the scent of 1,000 Saturday nights. You place it on the spindle and move the tone arm, a long, elegant wand of brushed aluminum. As the needle finds the lead-in groove, there is that beautiful rhythmic thump-hiss-crackle, the sound of a diamond finding its way into a canyon of music. The music from this console isn't thin or digital. It's wide, it's deep, it carries the weight of the orchestra and the warmth of the studio. The volume knob is a solid piece of machined aluminum, providing a satisfying oily resistance as you turn it. You don't just hear the bass. You feel it in the cushions of the sofa and in the glass of the window pane. The room is filled with a soft cinematic glow. The light from the television screen dances across the wood-panelled walls, turning the knots in the pine into shifting, liquid eyes. The dial of the AM/FM radio on the console glows with a soft, buttery light, the red needle sitting perfectly on a local frequency. It's a steady, unwavering light, a beacon in the dark den. Way off in the distance, beyond the quiet suburban street, a freight train is passing through the valley. Its low, mournful whistle filters through the storm windows, a long, fading vibration that travels through the earth and into the foundations of the house. It's a grounding sound. It reminds you that while you are here, tucked into the velvet shadows of the den, the world is still moving, still turning. The clock on the wall, a heavy sunburst-style clock with brass rays, continues its steady, rhythmic work. The second hand moves in a smooth, silent sweep, a constant motion that mirrors the rotation of the record player. This is the sanctuary of the home. It is a place where the hum is the sound of safety, and the clack is the sound of home. The vacuum tubes are glowing, the screen is fading into the late-night sign-off, and the needle is reaching the end of the side. There is no rush here. There is no destination. There is only the warmth of the wood, the smell of the hot glass, and the steady, baritone heartbeat of the electronics. The night is long, the blankets are heavy, and the room is holding you in a deep, honest embrace. Everything is grounded, everything is calibrated. The world is quiet, and the house is at peace. As the late-night sign-off fades on the television upstairs, a different kind of life reveals itself in the basement. To walk down those wooden stairs, the ones that give a slow, musical creak under the weight of a footstep, is to enter the engine room of the home. Here, the air is cooler, dampened by the concrete and the stone, carrying a scent that is the very essence of doing. It is a mixture of damp earth, seasoned sawdust, 3-in-1 oil, and the dry metallic tang of the furnace. The basement is a landscape of shadows, but in the centre, hanging over the heavy workbench, is a single green-shaded shop light. It casts a bright, conical pool of light onto a surface of thick, scarred maple. This workbench has been the site of 1,000 small victories. The fixing of a broken toy, the sharpening of a lawnmower blade, the slow, meditative sanding of a birdhouse. The wood of the bench is stained with rings from coffee cans and dark splotches of dried varnish, a topographical map of decades of labour. On the far end of the bench sits the vice. It is a massive cast-iron beast painted a faded industrial blue. The handle is a solid bar of steel with spherical ends, and as you turn it, there is no slack, no wiggle. It moves with a heavy, greased precision, the jaws coming together with a silent, crushing strength. To touch the iron is to feel a coldness that goes deep, a material honesty that doesn't exist in the plastic world above. Across the room, the furnace, the great iron heart of the house, begins its cycle. It starts with a soft, internal click of a thermostat, followed by the muffled whoosh of the pilot light catching. Then comes the sound that defines a home at night, the low, rolling thrum of the blower motor. It is a baritone vibration that travels through the ductwork, a steady shh that circulates through every room like a long, warm breath. The furnace is a sentinel. As long as it hums, the world inside is safe, regardless of the frost creeping across the basement windows. Near the furnace stands the drill press. It is a tall, spindly monument to the analog age. The drive belt is visible at the top, a loop of black rubber that has been worn smooth by years of friction. If you were to reach for the 3-spoked handle and pull it toward you, the entire assembly would move with a counterweighted grace. There is a physical satisfaction in the resistance of the metal, a calibrated tension that tells you exactly where the drill bit is in space. On the shelves above the bench, rows of glass baby food jars are screwed by their lids to the underside of a wooden plank. They are filled with the just-in-case history of the house, galvanized nails, brass wood screws, lock washers, and cotter pins. In the soft light, the glass jars shimmer, their contents looking like a treasury of small metallic secrets. The smell of the hardware, the scent of cold zinc and oil-dipped steel, is a grounding aroma. It is the smell of a man who knows how to keep things together. The soundscape of the basement is one of rhythmic repetition. Outside, in the drainage pipe, a single drop of water falls from a leaf and hits the metal splash guard with a rhythmic tink, tink, tink. It is a silver sound, cutting through the low-frequency hum of the furnace. Way off in the distance, the freight train is still moving through the valley, its whistle now a faint, ghostly echo that seems to vibrate the jars on the shelf. In the corner, the old chest freezer, the heavy white-enameled box that holds the harvest of the summer, cycles on. Its motor has a different pitch than the furnace, a higher, singing frequency that ends with a soft, pressurized sigh as the coolant settles. There is a profound sense of the weight down here. The tools are heavy. The iron is thick. The air is solid. Everything in the basement was built to endure. It is a place where time doesn't just pass, it is used. The hammer on the pegboard with its hickory handle worn smooth by the palm of a hand isn't just a tool, it's a record of every nail it ever drove. As the midnight hour deepens, the shadows move across the concrete floor, following the slow arc of the moon through the small rectangular windows at the top of the wall. The light catches the fine, swirling patterns of the sawdust on the floor, a soft, golden powder that smells of pine and cedar. The basement is the anchor. It is the part of the house that is tied directly to the earth. While the living room is a place of light and sound, the basement is a place of gravity and grease. It is the silent partner in the dream of the home. You stand there for a moment in the pool of light over the workbench. The furnace hums. The jars shimmer. The tools wait. There is no rush to go back upstairs. Here, among the iron and the oil, the world makes sense. Everything is bolted down. Everything is in its drawer. The house is breathing, the furnace is burning, and the night is holding its breath. This is the mechanical heart. It is the sound of a life well built. The dark is deep, the iron is cold, and the rest is finally here. Leaving the cool, oiled gravity of the basement behind, the journey leads back up the stairs and into the kitchen. If the den is the home's spirit and the basement its muscle, the kitchen at midnight is its quiet sanctuary of preparation. The air here is warmer, carrying the faint, lingering ghosts of the evening meal, the sweet, roasted scent of a pot roast, the sharp brightness of dish soap, and the clean, sterile aroma of bleached linoleum. The floor underfoot is a different texture now. It's a thick, patterned linoleum, a geometric mosaic of cream and gold that feels cool and smooth against the soles of the feet. In the dark, the surface has a soft, matte sheen reflecting the moonlight that pours through the window over the sink. That window is a frame for the night. Outside, the backyard is a study in silver and charcoal. The swing set stands like a silent skeleton on the lawn, and the leaves of the maple tree are shivering in a breeze you can't hear, but you can see. The light catches the chrome of the faucet, a heavy swan-necked fixture that looks like a sculpture in the dark. A single drop of water hangs from the tip of the spout, swelling slowly until its weight becomes too much and it falls into the stainless steel basin with a resonant musical ping. To the right stands the refrigerator, a massive rounded sentinel of white enamel and heavy steel. This is an appliance from the era of permanence. The handle is a thick, horizontal bar of chrome that requires a firm, deliberate pull. When the door opens, the seal gives a satisfying, pressurized thud hiss, and a flood of cool, artificial light spills across the linoleum, momentarily chasing the shadows into the corners. Inside, the motor is at rest, but you can hear the faint liquid gurgle of the refrigerant moving through the coils, a soft, internal plumbing sound that tells you the machine is alive. The shelves are wire racks, holding the weight of glass milk bottles and heavy ceramic bowls. When the motor finally kicks in, it does so with a confident, low-frequency thrum that vibrates the jars of pickles on the door. It is a sound of preservation, a mechanical promise that the morning will find everything exactly as it should be. On the laminate counter sits the toaster, a gleaming chrome box with 2 wide slots and a heavy, spring-loaded lever. It reflects the kitchen like a funhouse mirror, distorting the shapes of the cabinets and the curtains into long, silver curves. Next to it is the coffee percolator, a tall, brushed aluminum cylinder that is already prepared for the dawn. The ritual of the coffee is a tactile one. You can almost feel the weight of the basket, the grit of the coarse grounds, and the coldness of the water as it was poured in. The percolator sits in the dark, its small glass knob on top catching a stray glint of light. It's a silent promise of the morning to come, the rhythmic gluck-gluck hiss that will eventually wake the house. High on the wall, above the breakfast nook, hangs the sunburst clock. It is a masterpiece of mid-century geometry, with long brass rays radiating from a circular face. The second hand moves in a smooth, sweeping motion, a silent and relentless march through the night. The ticking is absent here. This is an electric clock, powered by the steady 60-cycle hum of the house's wiring. It is a soundless measurement of time, a visual reminder that while the house sleeps, the universe continues its slow, predictable rotation. The breakfast nook itself is a place of memory. The table is a grey formica with silver flecks edged in a ribbed aluminum trim. The vinyl chairs are a deep primary red, and as you slide one out, the metal legs make a soft, rhythmic scuff against the linoleum. Sitting here in the dark, the room feels expansive. The shadows of the spice rack stretch across the wall, looking like a tiny wooden city. The soundscape of the kitchen is delicate. Beyond the hum of the refrigerator, there is the distant rhythmic thump-thump of the washing machine in the mudroom, finishing its final spin cycle, a grounded, architectural vibration. And again, far off in the valley, the freight train calls out. Its whistle is even fainter now, a thin, lonely thread of sound that weaves through the trees and the suburban rooftops, reminding the kitchen that the world is vast and the night is deep. There is a profound peace in the kitchen at midnight. It is a room that has finished its work and is waiting to begin again. The counters are clear, the dishes are dry, and the light on the stove, a tiny green glowing clock, is the only eye open in the room. It's a place of absolute order. As you stand to leave, your hand brushes the cool, tiled backsplash. The tiles are smooth and regular, a grid of certainty in a shifting world. You move back toward the den, the linoleum giving way once more to the deep, silent shag of the carpet. The kitchen is left to the moonlight. The chrome is shining, the enamel is cold, and the percolator is waiting. The house is a series of interconnected heartbeats. The television upstairs, the furnace below, and the refrigerator here. They are all in sync, all part of the same slow-motion story. The night is reaching its quietest point. The air is still, the rest is deep, and the house is perfectly beautifully at home. Leaving the kitchen's cool linoleum behind, the transition back into the carpeted halls feels like a descent into a deeper layer of the night. The air in the hallway is slightly warmer, held by the heavy wallpaper and the dark wood panelling that lines the corridor. As you move toward the master bedroom, the sounds of the house change again. The hum of the refrigerator fades into a memory, replaced by the soft, rhythmic sigh of the air moving through the floor vents, a gentle, warm breath from the furnace below. The bedroom door is a solid slab of oak, and as it swings open, it moves with a silent, heavy grace. Inside, the room is a landscape of soft shadows and deep, comforting weights. The moonlight here is filtered through thick, patterned drapes, heavy fabric with a floral weave that dampens the world outside. The light that does make it through falls in long silver ribbons across the foot of the bed, highlighting the texture of the chenille bedspread. The bed is the anchor of this room, a massive frame of dark wood that doesn't creak or groan, it simply holds. The mattress is topped with layers of history, crisp, white cotton sheets that have been line-dried in the sun, followed by a heavy, scratchy wool blanket that provides a physical pressure, a grounded sense of security. On top of it all is the chenille, with its thousands of tiny, raised cotton tufts. If you were to run your hand across it, the sensation would be one of soft, rhythmic bumps, a tactile lullaby. On the nightstand sits the alarm clock. This is not a silent digital device, but a mechanical masterpiece of gears and springs. It is a twin-bell-style clock, cased in polished chrome that catches the stray glints of the moon. You can hear it the moment you enter the room, a steady, relentless tick, 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 tick. It is the heartbeat of the bedroom. It doesn't rush, it measures the night with an honest, metallic precision. If you were to pick it up, the clock would have a surprising weight. The glass over the face is thick and slightly domed, and the numbers are painted in a pale, seafoam green luminous paint that glows with a ghostly, fading light in the dark. Beside it sits a heavy glass of water on a lace doily. The glass is faceted, and it catches the moonlight, bending it into a shimmering liquid diamond on the mahogany surface of the stand. Across the room, the dresser stands like a silent sentinel. It is a wide, low piece of furniture with heavy brass pulls that look like darkened gold in the shadows. On top of the dresser sits a jewelry box made of inlaid cedar. Even from across the room, you can catch the faint, spicy scent of the wood, mixed with the clean, floral aroma of lavender sachets tucked away in the drawers. There is a sense of absolute order here. Everything is folded, everything is placed, everything is at rest. The acoustics of the bedroom are muffled, wrapped in the soft textures of the carpet and the drapes. The outside world feels miles away. Occasionally, the house itself makes a sound, a slow, rhythmic pop from the attic timbers as they contract in the cooling night air. It is a friendly sound, the sound of a structure that has stood for decades, settling in for its own sleep. Way off in the distance, the freight train makes its final appearance for this hour. Its whistle is now nothing more than a vibration in the air, a low-frequency pulse that you feel in the soles of your feet rather than hear with your ears. It is the sound of the world's momentum, continuing on while this room remains a stationary island of peace. In the corner of the room sits a rocking chair, its high back covered in a hand-knitted afghan of deep blues and forest greens. The yarn is thick and soft, holding the warmth of the room. The chair doesn't move, but you can imagine the slow rhythmic arc it traces on the floorboards during the day. Now it simply holds the shadows. There is a profound, weary intimacy in this space. It is the final destination of the day's journey. The electronics in the den are cooling, the iron in the basement is cold, and the chrome in the kitchen is dark. Here, the only thing that remains is the rhythm, the ticking of the clock, the breath of the furnace, and the slow, steady pulse of the night. The blankets are waiting. They have a physical gravity that pulls at the spirit, promising a rest that is deep and honest. The pillows are large and substantial, encased in cases that smell of fresh air and home. As the midnight hour stretches toward its midpoint, the room seems to grow even quieter. The light from the moon shifts, moving the silver ribbons off the bed and onto the floor. The shadows grow longer, deeper, and softer. The house is a vessel drifting through the dark. It is a well-built thing, a machine of comfort and memory. The vacuum tubes are dark, the furnace is humming, and the clock is ticking. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you are meant to be. The night is wide, the wood is warm, and the rest is continuing to settle over the house like a soft, heavy mist. To move from the carpeted warmth of the hallway and look upward toward the ceiling is to acknowledge the great, silent canopy of the home. The attic is the house's memory, a place where the seasons are felt most purely, and where the structural heartbeat of the architecture resides. As you pull the small braided cord of the ceiling hatch, the stairs unfold with a slow, heavy articulation, a series of wooden hinges and counterweighted springs that give a rhythmic, metallic creak thump as they find their place against the floor. Ascending into the attic is a transition into a different kind of time. The air here is drier, thinner, and carries a profound, multi-layered scent. It is the smell of seasoned hemlock and pine rafters that have baked under 1,000 summer suns. It is the dusty, sweet aroma of old cardboard boxes, the faint tang of mothballs, and the clean mineral scent of the insulation that sits between the joists like a blanket of grey wool. The moonlight doesn't pour in here. It filters through small, circular vents at either gable end, casting long, dusty beams of silver that reveal the geometry of the roof. The rafters rise in a series of perfect V shapes, meeting at the ridge board in a display of honest, hand-cut carpentry. Each beam is marked with the faint, rhythmic scars of a circular saw, a record of the men who stood in the open air decades ago, framing this sanctuary against the sky. Beneath the rafters, the floor of the attic is a patchwork of plywood and exposed joists. In the shadows sit the trunks, the heavy steamer-style chests with brass latches and leather handles. They are the anchors of family history. Inside, wrapped in yellowed tissue paper, are the woolen coats of winters past, the baptismal gowns, and the high school yearbooks with their heavy, textured covers. The smell of the cedar lining in these trunks is a sharp, spicy ghost in the air, a scent that triggers a rush of then into the now. The acoustics of the attic are where the house truly speaks. High above, the roof shingles, thousands of overlapping tabs of asphalt and grit, are the first line of defense. As the midnight air cools, you can hear the roof breathe. It's a series of slow, rhythmic pops and groans as the wood contracts. It isn't the sound of weakness. It's the sound of flexibility, the sound of a structure that knows how to move with the world. Then a new sound begins, a soft, rhythmic patter. It starts as a whisper against the northern eaves, then spreads across the entire expanse of the roof. It's a light midnight rain. Inside the attic, the sound is magnificent. It isn't a roar. It's a delicate, percussive dance. The shingles dampen the impact, turning the rain into a low-frequency drumming that resonates through the rafters and down into the very marrow of the house. It is the ultimate sound of shelter. To hear the rain on the roof while standing among the old trunks and the seasoned timber is to know with a physical certainty that you are protected. In the corner, an old oscillating fan sits dormant, its blue plastic blades covered in a fine layer of grey dust. Its heavy black cord is coiled neatly around its base. Next to it, a stack of National Geographic magazines from the late 60s sits in a sturdy crate. Their yellow spines are a bright, rhythmic line in the gloom. The paper has a specific clay-like scent, a smell of exploration and curiosity that has settled into a quiet, permanent rest. The chimney rises through the centre of the attic, a massive column of red brick and mortar. If you were to place your hand against the bricks, you might still feel a ghost of the warmth from the fireplace in the den far below. The brick is rough and porous, holding the heat like a secret. It is the spine of the house, the vertical axis around which the entire home revolves. Way off in the distance, the freight train makes its transit once again. Up here, in the eaves, the whistle is a different animal. It isn't muffled by the furniture or the drapes. It carries through the thin air of the gables, a long, mournful woo-hoo that seems to vibrate the very shingles on the roof. It is a reminder of the vast, wet darkness outside, and the long iron miles that stretch between this attic and the rest of the world. There is a profound, airy solitude in the eaves at midnight. It is the closest part of the home to the stars. The darkness here feels lighter, more transparent. You can hear the wind as it brushes against the gutters, a low, rhythmic whoosh that sounds like the sea. The house is a ship, and the attic is the bridge, navigating the quiet hours of the morning. Everything up here is settled. The trunks are heavy, the rafters are strong, the rain is a steady, rhythmic lullaby on the shingles. The house is a fortress of memory and wood, holding its breath under the silver sky. As you move back toward the hatch, the light from the hallway below looks like a warm, golden pool. You leave the attic to its shadows and its rain. The seasoned wood remains, the cedar smells continue to drift, and the roof continues to sing. The descent is slow. The stairs fold back into the ceiling with a final satisfying thud. The house is closed. The roof is tight. The midnight watch continues, and the rest is deepening, one raindrop at a time. Descending from the attic and moving through the quiet hallway, the air begins to shift. It grows cooler and crisper as you approach the rear of the house, moving toward the mudroom, the transition zone between the soft, carpeted sanctuary of the home and the raw, wet reality of the night. The mudroom is a place of utility and honest materials. The floor here is made of heavy, slate-grey tiles, cool and unyielding. The air carries a distinct, sharp aroma, the scent of damp canvas coats, the rubbery tang of galoshes, and the clean, powdery fragrance of laundry detergent that lingers near the washing machine. There in the corner, the washing machine stands like a silent, white-enamelled monument. It has just finished its final cycle, and the room still holds the faint vibration of its work. If you were to place a hand on its lid, you would feel a ghost of the warmth from the hot water rinse, a lingering mechanical heat. The controls are heavy, chrome-rimmed knobs that turn with a series of rhythmic, pressurized clicks. Next to it, the dryer, a matching giant, holds a load of towels, still warm and tumbling into a soft cotton heap. The smell of the warm lint and the heated fabric is a comforting domestic incense that fills the small space. On the wall, a row of heavy brass hooks holds the family's outdoor history. A yellow slicker, still holding a few beaded drops of the midnight rain, a heavy wool mackinaw with its thick buffalo plover pattern, and a row of baseball caps, their brims curved by the hands of seasons past. The hooks are bolted deep into the wood panelling, a sturdy and reliable geometry. You move toward the back door. It is a heavy door, half glass with a sturdy wooden frame, and it holds a large, circular brass lock. As you turn the deadbolt, the sound is a solid, metallic clack that echoes in the small room. You push the door open just a few inches. The night rushes in. The air is cold, startlingly so, and it carries the scent of the wet world. It is the smell of rain-washed pavement, the deep, loamy aroma of the garden mulch, and the metallic, ozone-heavy fragrance of the cooling air. The sound of the rain, which was a distant drumming in the attic, is now a vivid, surround sound experience. You can hear the rhythmic glug-glug-glug of the downspouts as they channel the water away from the house, and the soft, percussive splat of raindrops hitting the broad leaves of the hostas by the porch steps. On the back porch, the world is a study in shadow and silver. The floorboards are painted a deep battleship grey, and they shine with a thin film of water. In the corner, the old metal porch chairs, the ones with the shell-shaped backs and the bouncy spring steel frames, sit in a silent row. They catch the light from the neighbour's distant porch lamp, their wet surfaces looking like liquid mercury. And there, on the top step, sit the milk bottles. They are heavy glass bottles with rounded shoulders, sitting in a galvanized wire carrier. The milkman arrived hours ago, and the bottles have gathered the cold of the night. If you were to pick one up, the glass would be shockingly cold against your palm, and you'd hear the faint, musical clink of the bottles vibrating against the wire frame. The cream has risen to the top, a thick white layer beneath the foil cap. It is a silent, rhythmic delivery of the morning's promise, left in the dark of the midnight rain. The backyard is a dark, expansive mystery. The oak tree at the edge of the lot is a massive silhouette, its branches swaying in a slow, hypnotic arc. The wind makes a soft, rushing sound as it moves through the leaves, a whoosh that sounds like the breath of the earth. Way off in the distance, the freight train makes its final transit for this hour. The whistle is a long, low moan that seems to hang in the damp air, a sound of heavy iron moving through a liquid world. You pull the door shut, and the click of the latch is a final, satisfying punctuation mark. The mudroom is sealed. The cold is pushed back out into the night. You move back toward the warmth of the kitchen, the slate tiles giving way once more to the linoleum, and then the deep, silent shag of the den. There is a profound sense of the edge here. The mudroom is the border between the machine of the home and the wilderness of the night. It is the place where the boots are kicked off and the world is left behind. As the midnight hour stretches on, the house remains a fortress. The washing machine is silent. The rain is falling on the porch. The milk is cold on the step. The furnace in the basement continues its steady thrum, and the television in the den continues its late-night glow. Everything is in its place. The house is tight, the door is locked, and the world is safe. The night is wide, the rain is rhythmic, and the rest is deepening, one cold glass bottle at a time. You return to the den. It is the destination where the journey began, but the room has changed. The hour has pushed deep into the small, silent numbers of the morning, and the house has achieved a state of total, heavy equilibrium. The heat from the fireplace has mellowed into a deep, radiating warmth that lives in the stones of the hearth and the grain of the floorboards. The fire itself has retreated into a bed of glowing coals, a shifting landscape of orange and ash that pulses with a slow, subterranean light. The scent of the room is at its peak. It is a thick, comforting atmosphere of wood smoke, old leather, and the sweet, lingering ghost of a midnight snack. But cutting through it all is the distinct, sharp aroma of the television set. It is the smell of warm copper, hot glass, and the drying dust of a day's worth of entertainment. It is the scent of the electronic hearth. The console TV is still on, but the world has gone to sleep. The late-night movie has ended, and the screen is now a canvas of soft, dancing static, a snow that falls silently behind the curved glass. In the dark room, this static is the primary light source. It casts a flickering blue-white glow that dances across the wood-panelled walls, turning the knots in the pine into shifting liquid eyes. If you listen closely, the static has a sound, not a roar, but a soft rhythmic hiss that sounds like the distant eternal surf of an electronic sea. Then, the station reaches its final act, the sign-off. The static is replaced by the image of the flag, waving in a phantom wind. The national anthem begins to play, but it sounds different at this hour, slower, more resonant, filtered through the large paper-coned speakers of the walnut cabinet. The sound is thick and baritone, vibrating the glass of the nearby picture frames. And then the image disappears. In its place is the test pattern, the great geometric eye of the broadcaster. It is a steady, unmoving image of circles and lines, a masterpiece of analog calibration. In the center, the face of a Native American chief looks out into the room with a silent, stoic gaze. The test pattern brings with it a single, constant tone, a high-frequency beep that is the very sound of the void. It is a sound that marks the end of communication, a signal that the day is officially, legally over. The room feels heavier now. You sink into the recliner, a massive overstuffed throne of naugahyde and steel springs. As your weight settles, the chair gives a long, pressurized whoosh of escaping air, and the vinyl feels cool and stiff before warming to your touch. The mechanical handle on the side is a solid bar of wood and iron. When you pull it, the footrest kicks out with a rhythmic thud clack, a mechanical extension that turns the chair into a vessel for rest. From this low perspective, the room is a gallery of shadows. The amber lamp on the side table casts a soft, circular glow that highlights the textured wallpaper and the fine golden fibres of the carpet. On the table, the glass of water has finished its work. The ice has melted, leaving a ring of condensation on the doily and a series of tiny prismatic bubbles clinging to the side of the glass. The soundscape is now a symphony of the house's internal mechanics. The furnace in the basement has finished a cycle, and the ductwork is cooling. You can hear the metal contract, a series of slow, rhythmic ticks that travel through the walls. The clock on the wall continues its sweep, the second hand moving with a smooth, silent grace that seems to pull the room toward the dawn. Outside, the rain has stopped. The world is dripping. You can hear the slow, heavy plop of water falling from the eaves onto the mulch and the distant, rhythmic thrum of a car's tires on the wet blacktop 3 streets away. It is a lonely, peaceful sound, a reminder that you are tucked away in a fortress of wood and wool. The television set is ready to be put to bed. You reach out and push the power knob in. There is a final, mechanical click, and the blue-white light collapses into a single brilliant point in the center of the screen. It lingers there for a heartbeat, a tiny glowing star, before fading slowly into the dark. The silence that follows is profound. It is a silence that has a physical weight. The only thing left is the cooling of the tubes, the soft, rhythmic ping of the glass and the metal as they shed the heat of the evening. You remain in the chair. The Afghan is pulled up to your chin, its heavy hand-knitted weight a grounded comfort. The coals in the fireplace give one final bright snap as a piece of charred oak settles into the ash. The scent of the wood smoke is a final, fading blessing. Everything is in its place. The house is quiet. The tools in the basement are cold. The milk is on the porch. The clock is sweeping. The vacuum tubes are resting. There is no more doing. There is only being. The den is a dark, warm sanctuary, a place where the 1970s are held in a state of permanent velvet grace. The night is reaching its final, most beautiful depth. The world is wide, the house is safe, and the rest is finally truly here. Sleep is no longer a destination. It is the atmosphere of the room. It is in the smell of the pine, the warmth of the vinyl, and the steady, silent heartbeat of the clock. The light is gone. The sound is a whisper. The home is at rest. The hour between 4 and 5 in the morning is the deepest well of the night. In the den, the transition is subtle, almost spectral. The blue-white ghost of the television static has long since vanished, leaving the room to the mercy of the fading embers and the first tentative arrival of the blue hour. This is the time when the shadows lose their hard edges and become a soft, expansive charcoal, and the air takes on a crisp, crystalline quality that suggests the world outside has frozen in a moment of absolute stillness. Sitting in the heavy naugahyde recliner, you are a part of the room's thermal history. The furnace in the basement is resting now, its long, rhythmic whoosh replaced by a silence so thick you can hear the house settling onto its foundations. The wood-panelled walls, which felt so warm and vibrant under the evening lamps, now have a cool, matte presence. The knots in the pine are no longer liquid eyes. They are silent, frozen knots of ancient sap, holding the stillness of the forest within the walls of the home. The fireplace has reached its final state of grace. The glowing coals have been buried under a fine, silver-grey ash, looking like a miniature mountain range after a snowfall. Occasionally, a single spark, a tiny orange star, will find a pocket of oxygen and flare for a heartbeat before winking out. The scent of the wood smoke is different now. It is no longer the sharp, active smell of a burning log, but the deep, mellow, and slightly sweet aroma of a fire that has done its work. It is an ancient, grounding scent that speaks of the cave and the hearth, a reminder that you are protected. At the window, the light is changing. It isn't morning yet, but the absolute black of midnight has begun to dissolve. A pale, ethereal violet is creeping over the horizon, casting a faint, liquid light onto the backyard. You can see the silhouette of the maple tree, its branches still and heavy with the moisture of the midnight rain. A single, crystalline drop of water hangs from the tip of a twig, catching the first microscopic hint of the coming sun. The acoustics of this hour are the most delicate of all. The sounds are no longer architectural, they are environmental. Far off, beyond the suburban rooftops, you hear the first solitary chirp of a bird. It's a tentative, questioning sound, a single cheep that hangs in the cold air, followed by a long silence. Then, another answer from the oak tree at the edge of the lot. It is the beginning of the morning quickening, a slow-motion symphony that starts in the trees and will eventually fill the valley. The house itself makes a final midnight adjustment. A floorboard in the hallway gives a soft, rhythmic creak, a sound of wood expanding as it anticipates the warmth of the day. The refrigerator in the kitchen, 2 rooms away, cycles on with a low, confident thrum, a sound of industry in the dark. It is the house waking up, one mechanical heartbeat at a time. On the side table, the alarm clock continues its relentless metallic march. Tick, 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 tick. The seafoam green paint on the numbers has faded to a dim, ghostly glow, barely visible in the strengthening violet light. The glass of water is now as cold as the room, its surface a perfect, unmoving mirror. In this middle space between the then and the soon, there is a profound sense of clarity. The weight of the day ahead hasn't yet arrived, and the weight of the day behind has been processed and tucked away. You are in the silent center. The heavy wool of the Afghan feels even more substantial now, a protective barrier against the chill of the pre-dawn. The vinyl of the recliner has molded to your form, becoming a physical extension of your rest. Way off in the distance, the freight train is making its final pass of the night. The whistle is no longer a mournful moan. It sounds like a greeting. It is a long, low frequency that vibrates the window pane just enough to make a stray piece of tinsel on a nearby shelf shiver. The train is moving toward the sunrise, carrying the goods of the nation across the sleeping landscape, a rhythmic reminder of the world's vast and beautiful momentum. The den is a cathedral of the old ways. The wood, the wool, the iron, and the heavy glass, they are all here, holding the space. The vacuum tubes in the television are cold and silent, their glass envelopes resting in the dark. The record on the hi-fi is still on the platter, its side 2 finished, the needle resting safely in the center groove. Everything is prepared. The milk is cold on the porch. The coffee is ready in the percolator. The furnace is waiting for the morning command. But for now, the stillness is absolute. The blue light is growing, turning the silver-grey ash in the fireplace into a pale, ghostly white. The shadows are retreating into the corners, and the world is holding its breath for the final golden arrival of the sun. You close your eyes for just a moment more. The rhythm of the clock, the breath of the house, and the distant bird in the tree are all one sound. It is the sound of home. It is the sound of the 1970s held in a velvet pre-dawn embrace. The dark is gone, the blue is here, and the rest is perfect. The transition from the master bedroom back into the long, narrow corridor of the hallway is a transition into a different kind of quiet. If the rooms are the destinations, the hallway is the journey. It is a space of transit, a gallery of wood paneling and shadowed frames that connects the private world of sleep to the public world of the living room. In the deep, pre-dawn hours, the hallway is a tunnel of memory, held in a state of soft, charcoal-grey suspension. The floor here is covered in a long, woven runner, a heavy wool rug with a Persian pattern of deep reds and indigo blues. It is dense and thick, absorbing the sound of the house until the silence feels physical. As you move down the hall, the air carries a specific layered scent. It is the smell of the floor wax used on the edges of the hardwood, the faint, dry aroma of the wallpaper paste, and the unmistakable spicy fragrance of the linen closet. On the walls, the hallway gallery comes to life in the dim light. These are the family photographs, housed in heavy frames of dark wood and brushed brass. In the midnight hour, the glass over the photos acts as a series of dark mirrors, catching the stray, silver light from the bathroom nightlight at the end of the hall. You see the shapes of the people, The frozen smiles of a summer wedding in 1958, the stiff, proud posture of a graduation portrait, and the candid, blurred motion of a backyard barbecue. There is a profound gravity to these frames. They aren't the lightweight plastic of today. They are substantial, held to the wall by heavy wire and iron hooks. If you were to touch the corner of a frame, you'd feel the coldness of the glass and the textured grain of the wood. These are the anchors of identity, the visual pulse of the family, watching over the hallway in a silent, eternal vigil. In the center of the hallway stands the linen closet. It is a tall, narrow door of solid pine with a glass knob that feels like a heavy, faceted diamond in the hand. When you turn it, the latch moves with a slow, greased click, and the door opens to reveal the house's softest secrets. The scent that rushes out is the very definition of comfort. It is a thick, heady mixture of cedar blocks, dried lavender sachets, and the clean, alkaline smell of starch. The shelves are stacked with a vertical history of the home's comfort. At the bottom are the heavy, hand-quilted blankets, vast, heavy things made of scraps of corduroy and flannel, holding a weight that seems to defy gravity. Above them are the good sheets, crisp white percale with embroidered edges, smelling of the sun and the clothesline. There is a mechanical honesty even here. The way the towels are folded, thick, looped cotton in shades of harvest gold and burnt orange, creates a rhythmic pattern of texture. To reach in and touch the fabric is to feel the nap of the cotton, a tactile reassurance. The linen closet is the house's reserve of warmth, a warehouse of protection against the chill of the night. Further down the hall, the grandfather clock stands in its alcove. It is a towering monument of cherry wood and polished brass, a machine of time that feels as old as the earth itself. You can hear its heartbeat long before you reach it, a deep, resonant tock, 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 tock. It is a slower rhythm than the bedside alarm, a more authoritative measurement of the passing hours. Through the glass door of the clock, the brass weights hang like two golden pendulums, their polished surfaces reflecting the hallway in a long, distorted curve. The pendulum itself moves in a slow, hypnotic arc, a steady swish through the air that sounds like the breath of a sleeping giant. This is a technology of gravity. It doesn't rely on the buzz of the power line or the vibration of a crystal. It relies on the steady downward pull of the earth. As the clock reaches the quarter hour, the internal gears begin to stir. It's a complex, metallic sound, a series of snicks and whirs as the brass teeth engage. Then the chime. It isn't a digital beep. It is a physical strike of a hammer against a tuned rod. The sound is a deep, musical bong that vibrates through the wood of the case, into the floorboards and into the very marrow of your bones. It is a sound that defines the midnight watch, a signal that the house is being measured and found steady. The acoustics of the hallway are unique. Because it is a confined space, the sounds from the rest of the house are funneled here, creating a composite sketch of the home's life. You can hear the distant liquid gurgle of the pipes, the low thrum of the furnace, and the soft rhythmic patter of the rain that has started up again on the roof. It is a surround sound experience of safety. In this hour, the hallway is more than a corridor. It is a bridge. It holds the memories of the day and the promises of the morning, all wrapped in the scent of cedar and the sound of the ticking brass. Everything in the gallery is still. The photos are silent. The linens are soft. The clock is steady. The hallway is a dark, warm passage through time, holding the family together in a velvet, pre-dawn embrace. The night is long. The wood is deep, and the journey through the heart of the home continues. We are not yet to the morning. The dark is still holding us, and the rest is continuing to settle, one rhythmic tock at a time. The Den at Midnight. Part 10. The Screened-In Porch. The journey leads through the darkened kitchen, past the silent, rounded sentinel of the refrigerator, and toward the heavy wooden door that leads to the screened-in porch. This door is different from the others. It is mostly glass, a large, cold pane that reflects the interior of the house like a dark, deep-grained mirror. When you turn the handle, a solid horizontal lever of tarnished brass, the latch gives a slow, mechanical click hiss as the weather stripping releases its grip. Stepping onto the porch is like stepping into a different climate. The air here is not the conditioned, furnace-warmed atmosphere of the den. It is the raw, expansive breath of the night. It carries the sharp mineral scent of damp flagstone, the loamy aroma of the garden soil, and the unmistakable sweet and sour fragrance of the wet cedar shingles. It's a cold air, but it's a clean cold, the kind that clears the head and makes the wool of your sweater feel even more substantial. The floor of the porch is made of wide, painted planks, a deep forest green porch enamel that has been worn down to the silvered wood in the high-traffic areas. In the moonlight, the floor has a dull satin sheen, reflecting the dark silhouettes of the trees outside. As you move across it, the wood doesn't creak. It gives a low, muffled thrum, a sound of solid construction meeting the earth. In the corner of the porch hangs the swing. This is the rhythmic heart of the outdoor room. It is a heavy, slatted wooden bench suspended from the rafters by thick, galvanized chains. If you were to sit, the chains would give a series of musical metallic creaks, a slow-motion percussion that speaks of tension and gravity. The swing doesn't just move, it glides. It has a physical momentum that feels like the rocking of a ship. The sound of the porch swing is the sound of 1,000 summer evenings, but here at 4 a.m, it is a solitary, meditative rhythm. Creak, swish, creak, swish. It is a measurement of the wind and the weight of the house. The walls of the porch are nothing but fine wire mesh, a thin, transparent veil between you and the wilderness. The rain has stopped, but the world is still dripping. You can hear the rhythmic plop, plop, plop of water falling from the maple leaves onto the metal watering can on the steps. It is a silver, percussive sound that cuts through the low-frequency hum of the distant valley. Beyond the screen, the backyard is a study in charcoal and obsidian. The shadows of the lilac bushes are thick and velvet-like, and the white-painted fence at the edge of the lot glows with a ghostly subterranean light. The air is so still that you can hear the microscopic sounds of the night, the soft rustle of a pine cone falling through the branches, the distant, rhythmic thrum of a car on the highway 3 miles away, and the low, constant shh of the wind as it moves through the high grass of the meadow. The furniture on the porch is a collection of honest things, a heavy wrought-iron table with a glass top that holds a single beaded ring of condensation. A row of wicker chairs with thick floral cushions that smell of sun and old rain. In the dark, the wicker has a complex woven texture that looks like a series of interconnected shadows. To run a hand over the arm of the chair is to feel the dry, splintered history of the seasons. The acoustics here are expansive. Unlike the muffled, carpeted silence of the den, the porch is an acoustic amphitheatre. You can hear the house working from the outside. You hear the low, rhythmic thrum of the furnace vent on the side of the house, a steady breath of warm air that disappears into the cold night. You hear the distant, musical tink of the weather vane on the garage roof as it shifts a fraction of a degree. Way off in the distance, the freight train, that iron ghost of the night, makes its transit once more. From the porch, the whistle is clear and mournful. It carries over the rooftops and through the trees, a long, fading whoa that seems to pull the very soul of the night along with it. It is a sound of distance, of the miles that stretch between this porch and the rest of the world. It reminds you that while you are here, stationary and safe, the world is a vast moving machine of iron and steam. There is a profound, airy solitude here. It is a place of observation, a place to watch the night without being a part of it. The screen keeps the world at bay, but allows the scent and the sound to filter through. It is a sanctuary of the in-between. As the hour moves toward its final quarter, the sky begins to shift. The absolute black is gone, replaced by a deep, transparent indigo. The stars are at their brightest now, looking like tiny polished diamonds scattered across a velvet cloth. The air grows even colder, a final sharp frost before the dawn. You stand up from the swing, the chains giving one last musical clank as they settle. The house is waiting for you, its warm, yellow light visible through the glass of the door. You leave the porch to its shadows and its dripping leaves. The wood remains, the wicker waits, and the swing continues its slow microscopic arc in the breeze. The door closes with a solid pressurized thud, and the click of the latch is a final satisfying punctuation mark. You are back in the warmth, back in the wood-panelled safety of the kitchen, moving once more toward the deep, silent shag of the den. The night is still wide. The road is still long. and we have more to see before the light arrives. Moving away from the damp, raw air of the porch and back through the warmth of the house, the journey leads to a door that stays closed more often than not. This is the study, the library of the home. It is a room that feels like a heavy leather-bound book itself. As the door opens, it doesn't creak. It moves with a slow, pressurized resistance, as if the air inside is denser, held in place by the thousands of pages that line the walls from floor to ceiling. The air in the study is the most complex scent in the house. It is a deep, dry perfume of aged paper, the sweet, vanillin aroma of decaying bindings, and the sharp, metallic tang of ribbon ink. Beneath it all is the faint, earthy smell of the mahogany desk and the cooling dregs of a forgotten afternoon tea. It is a scent that suggests quietude and long, slow thoughts. In the moonlight, the bookshelves are a textured landscape of shadow. The spines of the books, thousands of them in buckram, leather and cloth, create a rhythmic pattern of vertical lines. Some are gold embossed, catching a stray glint of silver light. Others are faded and worn, their titles lost to the years. If you were to run a finger along the shelf, you'd feel the varying textures, the roughness of the linen, the cold smoothness of the plastic dust jackets, and the soft, organic grain of the calfskin. This is a technology of the mind, a silent warehouse of every idea the family has ever held dear. In the center of the room sits the desk, a massive, double-pedestal fortress of dark wood. Its top is covered in a slab of green leather, held in place by a border of gold leaf tooling. The surface is cool and vast. In the center sits the object that defines the mechanical soul of the room, the typewriter. It is a heavy manual machine, a Royal or an Underwood, cased in matte grey steel. It is a mountain of levers, springs, and type bars. Even in the dark, the keys glow with a soft, ivory light. They are circular, rimmed in chrome, and they hold a physical history. The E, the A, the S, the most used letters, are slightly polished by the oils of the fingers. The typewriter is a machine of finality. Unlike the silent, flickering cursor of the modern world, this machine requires a physical strike. You can almost feel the tension in the carriage return, the heavy, spring-loaded zip as the bell gives a sharp, musical ting, and the carriage slides back to the left with a solid metallic thud. The smell of the ribbon, that oily, carbon-heavy scent, is the smell of a thought being made permanent. It is a grounding, honest machine, a reminder that words once had a physical impact on the page. Beside the typewriter sits a heavy glass ashtray, clear and faceted, holding a single unsharpened pencil and a few paper clips. The glass catches the moonlight, bending it into a prismatic arc on the green leather. Next to it is a stack of bond paper, its edges crisp and white, waiting for the first strike of the keys. The paper has a weight to it, a cotton-rich substance that feels like fabric between the fingers. The acoustics of the study are the most dead in the house. The books act as a perfect sound absorbent, soaking up the echoes until every movement is hushed and intimate. The only sound is the rhythmic, slow-motion tick, tick, tick of the small brass carriage clock on the mantelpiece. It is a delicate silver sound, a counterpoint to the deep baritone thrum of the furnace that still pulses through the floorboards. High above the desk, a green-shaded banker's lamp stands in the shadows. Its pull chain, a thin brass string with a small ball at the end, sways just a fraction in the invisible currents of the room. The glass of the shade is a deep, dark emerald, looking like a prehistoric jewel in the pre-dawn light. Way off in the distance, the freight train is making what feels like its final transit of the night. The whistle is so faint now it is almost a memory, a thin, mournful thread that weaves through the books and the shadows, a reminder that the world is vast and the morning is coming. But in the study the morning feels like a distant concept. Here, the night is the master. The books, the ink, and the steel of the typewriter are the only things that matter. There is a profound, weary wisdom in this room. It is the place where the day's worries were sorted, where the letters were written, and where the family's future was planned on ledger sheets. It is a room of order and ink. As the midnight hour reaches its penultimate stage, the sky outside the study window has turned a deep, transparent indigo. The stars are fading, and the world is growing even colder. You can see the frost starting to crystallize on the corners of the window panes, tiny, intricate forests of ice that grow in the dark. You turn to leave, the heavy door closing with that same silent resistance. The study is left to its pages and its ink. The typewriter remains on the desk, its type bars resting in their cradle. The books remain on their shelves, holding their stories in the dark. We are moving toward the final chapter. The house has revealed almost all of its secrets. The iron, the wood, the wool, and the ink, they have all been accounted for. There is only one more place to go before the light finally arrives. The night is at its deepest, the rest is at its peak, and the final destination is calling. The journey ends where it began, in the deep, velvet shadows of the den. But the room has reached a new state of being. The hour is no longer measured by the clock, but by the absolute crystalline stillness that precedes the dawn. The furnace has fallen into a long period of rest, and the air has achieved a perfect, unmoving equilibrium. It is a silence that is not empty, but heavy, a silence made of wood grain, cold iron, and the final, fading echoes of the night. The fireplace, which once roared with a fierce orange life, is now a cathedral of silver ash. The last coal, that tiny, stubborn spark that held out against the dark, has finally surrendered. It gives one last microscopic tink as it fractures, a sound so small it wouldn't be heard in any other hour, before turning grey and cold. The scent of the smoke is now a delicate, ghostly fragrance, a whisper of the forest that has become part of the fabric of the room. It is a scent that signals the end of the vigil. You are back in the recliner, the heavy Naugahyde holding you in a familiar, grounded embrace. The Afghan, with its thick, hand-knitted ridges of wool, is a landscape of warmth that feels like an extension of your own skin. In the darkness, the objects of the room have lost their individual identities and become a single, architectural presence. The walnut console of the television, the brass of the sunburst clock, and the glass of the window pane are all part of the same silent story. The blue hour has reached its peak. Outside the window, the world is no longer black or violet. It is a deep, transparent indigo that seems to vibrate with a cold internal light. The frost on the glass has grown into a complex silver forest of lace, catching the very first, invisible rays of the sun as they struggle against the curve of the earth. You can see the silhouette of the porch swing outside, perfectly still, its chains looking like frozen ribbons of iron in the gloom. The acoustics of the house have reached their final, most intimate stage. Without the hum of the electronics or the breath of the furnace, you can hear the small sounds of the structure. The slow, rhythmic tick-tick of the cooling metal in the baseboard heaters. The soft, dry rustle of the drapes as a stray, microscopic current of air moves through the room. These are the sounds of the house sleeping, a mechanical, rhythmic breathing that tells you the fortress is holding. On the side table, the alarm clock is the only thing still moving. Its second hand sweeps across the face with a smooth, relentless grace, a silent silver needle stitching the night into the morning. The sea-foam green paint on the numbers has faded entirely now, leaving only the shape of the chrome and the reflection of the indigo sky in the glass. Beside it, the faceted glass of water is a still, cold diamond, its work done, its bubbles gone. Way off in the distance, so far away it feels like it's in another lifetime, the freight train makes its final transit. The whistle is no longer a moan or a greeting, it is a ghost. It is a vibration in the air that you feel in the center of your chest, a low-frequency hum that says the world is vast, the road is long, and the day is coming. But in the den, that sound is a benediction. It is the sound of the world continuing its motion while you remain in the absolute, beautiful stasis of home. There is a profound sense of the return in this hour. Every object we have visited tonight, the heavy press in the museum, the cold iron of the vise in the basement, the silk-wrapped wires of the switchboard, and the brass gears of the grandfather clock, they are all in this room now. They are held in the memory of the wood and the smell of the air. The analog age isn't a museum exhibit. It is a living, breathing reality in this den. It is the weight of the book, the clack of the knob, and the warmth of the tube. The light is changing. It isn't yellow yet, but the indigo is thinning, turning into a pale, watery grey. The shadows in the corners are starting to lift, revealing the honest textures of the room, the weave of the carpet, the grain of the pine, the soft nap of the speaker cloth. The room is waking up, but it is doing so without urgency. It is a slow-motion awakening, a gentle transition from the sanctuary of the dream into the clarity of the day. You feel the weight of the night lifting from your shoulders. The vigil is complete. You have walked the halls, checked the locks, listened to the furnace and watched the coals. The house is safe. The family is sleeping. The morning is earned. The final silence of the midnight is the most restorative of all. It is the moment where you realize that the world doesn't need you to turn the gears. The house will stand. The sun will rise. The coffee will percolate. Your only job is to be here, in the velvet dark, and to let the rest take hold. The clock reaches the final minute of the hour. The second hand sweeps toward the 12. Everything is in focus. The wood is warm. The iron is cold. The air is sweet. The house is home. The night watch is over. The journey is done. The rest is absolute. Close your eyes one last time. Listen to the silence. Feel the weight of the blanket. The morning is just a heartbeat away, but for this one final beautiful second, the midnight is yours.